What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMVSportsZone. And tonight, I got a guest who's been on the channel in the past, live streams, and is back again. Manny from Talking Sports with Manny. Would you like to introduce yourself to the people out there who don't know who you are, which is probably not too many people, but just want to give you some time at the start of the show.
What's good, Nati, man? Hey, appreciate you having me on the stream, man. I'm excited to be here once again. For anybody who doesn't know who I am, my name is Manny. I'm the host of Talking Sports with Manny podcast, as well as the Back Row Redskins show. So I'm excited to be here, man. Let's get it.
For sure. We got a lot to talk about. I know you're super big into the NBA and fantasy football as well, so we'll get to a couple of those questions at the tail end of the stream. But the first question I want to ask you is pertaining, of course, to the final roster cuts of the Washington football team. And we're going to break it down by position, right? So we're going to start with quarterback. How comfortable are you with the position as is? And do you think Taylor Heinicke or Kyle Allen will get any playing time this season?
I'm comfortable with Fitzpatrick. I think I'm more comfortable with Fitzpatrick than most. I know what he can do. He reads the field. And he makes the plays. You know, when you look at what we've had the last 3 years, I mean, we have not had a quarterback that can get the ball down the field. And that's what Fitzpatrick does for you. Now, he can be Fitz magic. Sometimes he can be Fitz tragic. But look, I'm ready for everything that he has to bring to the floor. I'm praying that he's able to play all 17 games. I'm tired of, quarterbacks going back and forth. So the best case scenario is for him to play the entire season. I don't see Heinicke or Allen playing this year. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
Okay. I know you talked about your comfort with Ryan Fitzpatrick, but of course, I mean, I have to throw the question out there, even though I feel like you know where I stand on this. Do you think that Washington should sign Cam Newton or potentially even go after Drew Lock? And I know Tim from Tim Sports Talk basically made a video last week, and I'm not for the idea whatsoever, but would you like either one of those quarterbacks here in DC?
With Cam Newton, man, he is what he is. If he comes here, he's coming here to be a Wildcat type guy, which can possibly work. Just an extra running back. He's just an extra running back in a quarterback body. So I can see where we cut Kyle Allen and we bring in a Cam Newton. But, hey, you're coming here to be the number 3. You're coming here to be Taysom Hill, which I'm not a fan of Cam Newton. I don't want him here. But if he's coming here to do that. He's coming here to spice up the offense as just a gadget guy. Yeah. Now, he's not willing to take a backseat. You know what I'm saying? That's not who Cam is. So, Cam coming here is just going to just mess up everything that we've been building for years. In terms of Drew Luck, Haskins, Drew Luck, I don't see a difference. I do not see a difference, honestly. People say, oh, Drew Luck is better. Drew Luck had better talent. He had a better team around him. Haskins did not. I think that they are cut from the same cloth. That quarterback class is so weak. The only guy that was in that quarterback class is Kyler Murray, who's just an injury away. Knock on wood. So, yeah, no to both.
Yeah, again, I agree. Cam Newton, I was a fan of him in his Carolina Panthers days, but I think he is beyond even remotely close to what he was with Carolina. I think he's definitely not in his prime and definitely on the tail end of his career. Drew Lock, I mean, there's a reason why Teddy Bridgewater got the starting job over Drew Lock, right? And Drew Lock is going to his 3rd season. He's a very young quarterback, but not too young to the point where you can think, oh, he needs some more years of seasoning. He's in his 3rd year. He should be ready at this point, but he's not. Teddy Bridgewater, he literally just got cut or just got traded away from the Carolina Panthers after only 1 season. So I think that tells you all you need to know about Drew Lock and my stance on him being here in DC, which is an absolute no. And the next question I want to ask you with regards to the quarterback position. So we talked about Drew Lock, Cam Newton. Can you give me a stats prediction for Ryan Fitzpatrick, since you are, as you said, more confident in him than a lot of people out there, maybe even myself? What's the stats prediction look like for Ryan Fitzpatrick for the 2021 season?
So Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm looking at 3,800 yards passing. Okay. I'm looking at about 25 to 27 touchdowns and about 14 picks.
That is wild, because I said pretty much the same thing. I said, first off, I said he'll play in 15 games this year, so he'll miss a couple. And then I said 3,750 passing yards, 27 passing touchdowns, and 14 picks. So we're pretty much like right on with our predictions. But again, for him, it's all about availability in the sense that whether he stays healthy enough to play in all 17 games, or also whether he doesn't, show up, his Fitztragic self doesn't show up too much every single week, because then he'll get benched eventually, as he has gotten for most of his career.
Right. I mean, if you know who Fitzpatrick is, the stats that we predicted is pretty much who Fitzpatrick is. So we're just praying for the best, and that's pretty much the best. If you're getting 27 and 14 out of Fitzpatrick, that's what you want. And the reason why I said 3,800 yards is that you don't want him in the 4,000s to 4,500. That means our defense sucks. That means you're putting the ball in his hands to bring us back in games, and that's not what you want. So I think about where we kind of predicted the yards. That means the running game is good, and that means the defense is good, potentially. So.
Yeah, and you touched on that point right there, the running game. I was going to say, if you're throwing the ball that much, you're not going to really have that much balance on offense. And we know from previous years that lack of balance on offense usually is not a good sign for a winning team. So hopefully we can get that balance this year. Ali here saying that he would rather start Heineke if it were up to him, but he's still supporting Fitz. I don't know, man. Taylor Heineke did not show enough in the preseason for me, at least personally, to make that decision. I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy. He's been the guy since, March when he got signed here. And I think he'll keep being the guy until we actually bring a franchise quarterback here.
Facts. All facts. I agree. I mean, when you look at Taylor Heineke in that preseason game, I think it was the second preseason game, this guy will look to run before he makes a pass. He's like, oh, they're coming. Let me go. We know that you can go. What we want you to do is we want you to process your reads. Look at the first, second, third, fourth option, or at least look at the first two options before you run. This guy looks and says, oh, I see a hole. I'm gone. Durability is an issue with this guy. We've only seen 12 quarters of football from Taylor Heineke, so I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket with this guy. I was on the Taylor Heineke train. I love the guy. The guy is awesome. He brings some excitement, but at the same time, it's that style of play that I don't like. All the scrambling guys, just give me a guy who can stand in the pocket and make some passes. That's what I'm looking for out of my quarterback.
Okay. I feel you on that. Unless he's like Lamar Jackson or something, then I think that's a little different. But some people in the chat commenting, we're probably not even going to get to the Nationals on this stream, but I don't even want to talk about them, man. It's misery for the Nationals and the Orioles as well. So all the old timer DMV baseball fans are very much hurting right now. Hopefully both teams can get back to their winning ways sooner rather than later. We were going to get to this a little bit later in the stream, Manny, but I don't know. Do you want to talk about the KJ Wright news and him signing with the Raiders? Because that was my top choice at linebacker for us since March. But what are your thoughts on that move and what Washington can do at the linebacker position?
KJ Wright, if we wanted to have a KJ Wright, we could have got a KJ Wright a long time ago. Yeah. But we fumbled it. I mean, so it's for us to blame. I mean, he was there. He was available. He's been there forever. He goes, he signs the perfect 1-year deal with the Raiders. That crushed me today. When I seen that news, I was pissed off. Hopefully we get McKinley. He's nice, potential. He's 28 years old. He has upside. And anybody is better than Boston. We just need somebody who just has.
You're speaking to me, man. You already know I agree with you on that one. But
so I mean, not getting KJ right, that hurts. That sucks because I see us as a team this year that's competing for a playoff spot. So if you're competing for a playoff spot, you want to be solid. Look, we have passed the stages of, we're grooming these young guys. We're preparing for the future. What if the future never comes? Like, we can't waste this defensive line being together. Like, you got to go all in and see what you can do as a defensive unit to see if we're going to spend even more money. There's a way that we can pay all 4 guys on that defensive line. There's a way, but we need to know, is it really going to be worth it? Are these guys really going to help take us to the promised land? That's where we're headed. So not getting the KJ right, it just shows me, like, you know what? Maybe Ron Rivera loves the guys that he has. Maybe he wants to run some 4-2-5s, some 5-2-4s, a formation with 2 linebackers out on the field at the same time. But the problem is when one of those 2 that we have, because we only have 2, when one of those 2 gets hurt, that's when we start scrambling and panicking. So that's my take on the whole linebacker situation as of right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they're finished at the position. I like McKinney. I know there's rumors swirling out there on social media that Washington might be interested in him. I think that would be a good pickup. Really, like you, I mean, we're hurting at linebacker. Any player that is sort of quality, right? Sort of good, I think would be a needed boost to this group right now. John Bostic is still a starting linebacker on this team. And I've been talking about how he's a backup at most on a very good defense. And I know Louis T as well is agreeing with that statement. And yeah, so hopefully we can add to the position. We'll see. KJ Wright, though, will not be the guy, even though he was my first choice by far. And then I see some more comments in the chat. Ali, 14 picks seems a little light. Well, I mean, 31 touchdowns seems a little high, right? So like I think Manny and I are agreeing that the touchdowns will be a little bit lower, right, in that 25 to 27 range, and then the picks will be about 14. Maybe Washington might run the ball more this year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, over the last couple years, 2 years specifically, he's gotten better at protecting the ball a little bit and not throwing those wild picks that we saw earlier in his career. So I don't think he'll get to 17 picks. If he does, he'll probably get benched sooner rather than later. But and then I see Hawks point right here with Fitzpatrick. It's like that one kid taking his driving test at the DMV. Don't mess up and you'll have a license. Yeah. Good old Fitzy.
If we get, I'm telling you guys, if we get Fitz to throw under 14 touchdowns, you're talking about a great season. You're talking about a season.
Under 14 picks?
Under 14. Yeah, that's the key. Under 14, you're talking about a season that's better than the 1999 season.
So playoffs it is then.
Playoffs. Not just playoffs, a playoff win.
We haven't had that since 2005, I believe. Sean Taylor. Yeah. We had to sign Benardrick McKinney before the Jets signed him as our sixth linebacker. I mean, again, like he wasn't my first choice, but I'll be fine with him being here in DC because, again, I want to see at least some competition for John Bostic because he should be a backup at most. You may be right. I just think 31 touchdowns is a possibility because Fitz threw 30 touchdowns. He did. I think it was 31 touchdowns and 15 picks, if I'm not mistaken. And we're loaded with weapons. Sure, but again, that wasn't 17 picks. That was 15 picks. I get that there's an added game, but I just think he won't get the 17 picks this year. I think he learned a little bit about not turning the ball over as much as he did earlier in his career. Do you think that 31 touchdowns is a possibility, Manny?
31 is very doable. And maybe we get some of those touchdowns against those teams that score a lot. Like, as good as our defense could be, because we don't even know if defense is going to be good. Like, on paper, we look great, right?
But the offenses we played last year, not too hot either. So, like, you got to think about that.
Yeah. So, when you play a team like the Bills, you're not going to shut down the Bills from scoring 22 to 24 points. I mean, it's going to be hard to shut down the Bills. It's going to be hard to shut down Tampa Bay. It's going to be hard to shut down the Chiefs. It's going to be hard to shut down the Packers. Yeah. Those are four offenses that you literally need to score on. So maybe those 4 games are games where he throws for maybe 3 touchdowns apiece.
Yeah.
So he can possibly gain some touchdowns because we're going to need at least 21 points to beat any one of those teams. If you don't score 21 points, you're not going to beat those teams. As good as your defense is, you can only do but so much. You can hold somebody down, then boom, a big play happens, especially when we played the Chiefs. They are the template. They are the best offense in football. They're like Showtime. It's fast breaks every single play. So maybe we get some of those touchdowns from those potential shootout games. Hopefully we don't have too many of those because the defense is supposed to be a top 3 defense in the league, right? We're supposed to, shut people down and do all these great things. But until I start seeing it versus good teams, hey, the performance we had last year versus Pittsburgh is what I want to see versus good teams. Not every time, just every now and again.
Yeah, I agree. And we have the Bills and the Packers this year as well. No slouches on offense. We have some very good teams. And again, we talked about this earlier, but you guys got to remember that the couple of times that we played very good offenses last year with the Ravens, even though the Ravens at the beginning of the season were slumping a little bit off of that record-breaking 2019 season, the Ravens and the Bucks were just two examples of when the Washington defense was pit against very good offenses, and they ultimately did not show to be a top 3 defense, right? So I think that stats can deceive a little bit. Obviously, Washington's defense last year was very good, but like to get to the next level, we have to be great against, like you said, the great offenses in this league. And hopefully we can do that this year with William Jackson, with Benjamin St-Juste being drafted here, and Matt Ioannidis being back as well. So hopefully that can happen. But moving on to the next position group, running back. Will Jared Patterson play that Peyton Barber role that we saw for Washington last year? Or do you think he could get more snaps given that he's younger and has greater potential?
Not only is he going to play the Peyton Barber role, he's also going to play the J.D. McKissick role. You know what I'm saying? He is going to be a very big piece to what we're trying to do. He's shown that he can catch the ball. Doesn't have the best hands because he had those dropsies, that last game. But you have to think about it. He didn't catch a lot of passes in Buffalo. So he's learning a new role. In Scott Turner's offense, we have 3 running backs that are capable of catching the ball. And that's what Scott Turner wanted. He didn't want a offense that's predictable. You see Peyton Barber, we're going to run the ball. You see this guy, we're going to catch the ball. So what he's been able to do is we have flexibility. Yep. And I think that he's going to be able to do a little bit of both come this season. So I'm excited for Jared Patterson. That's my top guy.
Yeah, for sure. And so before getting into my stance on this, Dave in DC, are you too worried about how slow and non-productive our offense was in preseason? If you saw my previous videos with reactions to the preseason games and the Washington Football Weekly streams, I am worried. That's why, originally going into the preseason, I had us going 9-8. Now I could see us going 8-9 or 9-8. But the first team offense, a lot of people forget, they didn't score any touchdowns this preseason. Like that's problematic. That's been the theme for the last 3 years now. So, I mean, I did like seeing that. I believe it was in the first game, early on the first game, on a 3rd down. It was like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Ryan Fitzpatrick hooked up with Adam Humphries, and oftentimes, of course, in the last couple of seasons, we've had a problem converting on 3rd downs, 3rd and mediums. But I like seeing that right out the gates, first game against the Patriots, and I believe they were playing their first teamers at that point. But other than that, I did not like seeing what we saw out of the first team offense in the preseason. Hopefully, it's just the product of very bland play calling because it is the preseason, and hopefully they scheme up some great offense during the regular season, including when Curtis Samuel is back, potentially come week 1, and maybe he could be sort of that gadget guy that opens up the playbook. But, were you worried about what we saw out of the offense this preseason?
Look, I'm worried, but then I'm not. This is where my worry is. We paid Curtis Samuel a lot of money. That's the guy that I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the guys who played because the Chargers, we're going to talk about that later, 3 of their top guys didn't play in the preseason on offense. So, yes, it's a whole new group. They've been getting some work in, preseason and things of that nature, and even camp and all that. So I'm not too worried because who scored the most touchdowns for us last year? It was Gibson. So Gibson's the guy. Gibson's the key. Gibson was the guy that was able to score, from all levels for us. So I'm leaning towards Gibson even being more of a weapon this year. So I'm not too much worried on the offense as long as we can be able to run the ball and have some kind of balance. Everything else is going to, open up for itself. We're expecting a big season out of Terry McLaurin. He's going to be able to get open and do some damage for us. It's all going to be all about timing and connection. I am saying it's going to take 2 weeks to get this offense rolling. So we shouldn't really be too worried because you can only do but so much in the preseason anyways.
Yeah, I agree. Although Scott Turner, I think it was early last season, it might have been Coach Rivera instead, actually, said that this offense is going to take at least a year to really get going. So, it's been a year now. Hopefully they could get going this season and we don't have the poor offense performances that we had last season, especially at the early point. We don't have Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, so I think that will help. But, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. It isn't an Aaron Rodgers. It isn't a franchise quarterback that will be here hopefully for years to come. Some other points that were mentioned in the chat. It's pretty worrisome that our first team offensive line didn't perform. Samuel Cosme was pretty good the last 3 games. For PFF, he's ranked really high.
Cosme's a dog, man. Look, Cosme impressed me. I didn't think he was going to be ready.
Yeah.
right away. He seems to be ready right away. He seems to have won that job as the starting RT, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Him and Sheriff on the same side, that's some athleticism right there. And even the left side is pretty strong. I mean, I'm excited about this line. I think we have a top 10 offensive line group in the NFL, and we even have guys who are also able to, withstand injuries, because we haven't had backup offensive line before. And I think we did pretty well. And I love the depth, and I think that we're going to create some gaping holes for Gibson this year. I mean, It's going to be fun. Even if Eric Flowers or Schweitzer starts, which we're going to get into. I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun. But we're going to create some holes. And maybe pass protection might be a little somehow, but in terms of running the ball, we're going to be able to do that this year. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of the offensive line, I'm comfortable with everything from the left guard to the right. So left guard, center, right tackle, right guard, I'm fine with. Left tackle, though, from what we saw in the preseason, a little bit worried. I mean, Leno, obviously you guys know, I go to school in Chicago, and I'm friends with a lot of Bears fans, and they didn't like Leno last year. They didn't like what they saw out of him. But then again, they said the same thing about Cornelius Lucas, and look what turned out. I think a good offensive tackle last year showed up to play here in D.C. Hopefully that could happen this year. But I'm just a little worried based off the preseason performance.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be those two guys manning that left tackle spot, right?
Yeah.
So I think we'll look. When you take those two, you put them together, you got yourself a decent left tackle. And, I think that priority next year outside of quarterback is left tackle. So,
yeah,
we'll see what happens. Definitely.
I agree.
Definitely so.
Still sucks that we don't have Trent Williams in town, but that's, I know, a whole story, and you guys know my thoughts on that. But Hawk here, this could be the season that solidifies the restart of our dominance in the NFC East. It's imperative that Ron coaches this team to back-to-back division titles and a playoff W. I mean, do you think last year was the start of a run when it comes to NFC East titles for this team?
I mean, obviously, yeah, because how many titles have we had? When was the last time we won back-to-back anyway? When was the last time anybody in that division won back-to-back?
2004, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even to me about winning the NFC East. That doesn't impress me. What impresses me is making the playoffs. What impresses me is getting the playoff win. Even if we're the wild card team, of course you want to host a game at home, but it's not a must to win the NFC East. You want to dominate. Obviously, you need to win 4 games in the NFC East to solidify your playoff spot. So I lean towards more so playoff spot than NFC East. It really doesn't matter because there's nobody in the NFL saying this is the NFC East, this is the AFC South. All that stuff doesn't even matter. Nobody even knows who the conference champions are, but the people in that conference. So I'm just more so just playoffs. That's the goal, and the next goal is playoff win.
Yep, for sure. Tone here, Ron needs to be a bit aggressive and sign McKinley. I don't think in terms of free agent pickups, if it's not right near the start of the new year, the new league year, I don't think Ron's ever been aggressive when it comes to like picking up guys in free agency and stuff, right? Like, so I don't know if they're gonna be aggressive when it comes to the linebacker position, although I want them to be, but I think they're kind of complacent with John Bostic as a start, honestly.
They're done for now. They're gonna start the season. They're gonna stash some guys in the practice squad. They're gonna call up some guys from the practice squad. And even if Ron does sign somebody, he's signing somebody to the practice squad.
Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Can you cut a guy from the practice squad to replace them with somebody else on the practice squad? So that's the route. That's the route he's gonna go. He's gonna get somebody in as a practice squad member, get them acclimated before they're elevated. You look at what he's done during the season with the wide receivers he brought in. The same thing with Lamar Miller, practice squad to the big team. So that's the route he's going to go. Like, I don't see any big name splashes.
Mm-hmm.
I see him just taking his time. He's going to take his time, get the right guy, and he's just going to go that route. I don't see us signing. It'll be nice, but look, with the season starting next week, you don't have time to bring in somebody new and teach them and say, oh, yeah, you're going to be ready week 1 or week 2. It's going to take time. Whoever we bring in is going to be a process. Practice squad, learn the playbook, get acclimated to the team. Boom, now you're elevated. So, y'all can just keep wishing and hoping, but you're going to see somebody if we get somebody by week 4 or week 5. So that's my take on that.
Yeah. So, we're going to get to Gibson now with the running backs, but I mean, I get the point that Gibson dances maybe a little bit too much, especially at the beginning of last season, but I definitely think we saw progress out of him towards the tail end of the season, and I think that he was able to better read the holes and better able to just like run the ball right as a runner, because as we know, he's not that experienced as a runner. He's still growing. But what are your thoughts on Antonio Gibson this year? Do you think he could potentially have 1,000 yards on the ground? Maybe potentially a Pro Bowl this year or even the year after this? Like, what are your thoughts on Antonio Gibson and even J.D. McKissic and what his role should look like this year?
Yeah, I like the potential for Gibson this year. Because he dances doesn't bother me. As long as he's dancing in the end zone, he can dance all he wants. I more so just care about what he does on the field. But Gibson, I think he's going to have a big season. I see him as a 3-down back. But you know what scares me? Is his pass protection. We see we see up and coming great pass protection out of Jared Patterson, which is why I think he plays a lot this year. He was able to pick up those blitzes during the preseason. And it's just things to come. As the season progresses, they're going to trust him more and more with more snaps and even being a 3rd-down back. But if Gibson can pass protect, you're going to see him on the field every single snap as much as possible. So in terms of running the ball, he's going to have an amazing season. I see double-digit touchdowns once again. In terms of yards, I see definitely 1,000 yards, based off of volume. And then in terms of receiving the ball, I'm hoping for at least 30 to 40 receptions. That's a start. To getting him out there more. And you want to navigate your offense to where you don't know what we're going to do, Regardless of any one of our 3 running backs, it can be a run or a pass. J.D. McKissic can take a few carries, but I wanted to be mixed in to where you can't predict what's about to happen. But yeah, Gibson's going to have a huge season, especially if he gets that pass protection right. And if he starts to receive passes, hey, we talking 15 or more touchdowns. If that happens, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a big season as well. You guys know how I feel about Antonio Gibson. I mean, I think it was like a month or two after the draft last year, I was comparing this guy to Alvin Kamara. I thought he was going to be an Alvin Kamara type back for us. One of the 2 predictions that or 3 that I was happy about from last season, that one, the 7 or 9 prediction, and then obviously Zach Wilson being the 2nd best quarterback in the draft all the way back in September. But that's besides the point. It's Antonio Gibson. I think he's going to be a very special back here. Once again in DC, I think he's only going to continue what he showed towards the tail end of last season. A lot of people forget in that Pittsburgh Steelers game, right before he suffered that turf toe injury, he had that nice run. And I think we're going to see a lot more out of him when it comes to running the ball and being able to see the holes and all that this year. Everybody points to the Dallas games last year and how he was a monster. But then again, Dallas, right, their linebacker situation was terrible last year. Their entire defense was terrible. So even though I'm not thinking he's going to put up performances like he put up against the Cowboys last year, I still think he's going to have a very good season. And I don't think it will be in the Pro Bowl this year, but I think it will be next year, actually. So I think he'll just continue to progress. But aside from the running back group, wide receiver room, thoughts on a couple of things. 1, Terry not making the NFL Players Top 100 list. And 2, Washington keeping 7 receivers on the roster, including Dax Mill and DeAndre Carter. You're on mute, Manny.
Sorry about that. So I got the video about Terry not making the top 100, and my beef with that was Cole Beasley made it and Corey Davis made it. Good players, not great players. Terry's a great player.
Yep.
Terry doesn't have the wide receivers that Corey Davis or Cole Beasley have on the opposite side. That being said, Terry doesn't have the quarterback play that both Corey Davis and Cole Beasley has had. So that, the disrespect with Terry McLaurin continues to happen over and over and over again. And I think you start to see a change this year just because of the improved quarterback play. I'm telling you guys, Terry's a guy that can go deep. Terry can be a burner. But guess what? We have a quarterback that can get the ball to him. So you can see a 70 or 80-yard bomb to Terry this year. Plenty of those. You can see plenty of those. We saw it in his first game of his career versus the Eagles. So if you guys
had 2 of those.
2 of those. He should have had 2. He should have ended up with like over 150 yards receiving that first game. So that's who Terry is. Terry can do it all. And he's disrespected because of quarterback play, but you're going to see Terry beast this year. Not only that, he has another guy on the opposite side that can take, some of that pressure away. Not only that, he has guys everywhere now. So I'm expecting a big season for Terry. So that's enough on that. He will be on that top 100 next year for sure. Now we go into keeping 7 wide receivers. I did not see a scenario where we kept Dax Mills and
both.
Carter. I was thinking one of those guys. I look at Carter more so as a slot guy anyways. You know, he can do some things here and there. I've not really seen tape on him playing outside, but
he's okay. I mean, I liked what we saw a little bit out of him with the Texans. He isn't too bad. I'm not going to lie.
I've seen him in camp. That's about it. I haven't seen him in the games, but in camp, he was making some nice grabs here and there. I think he's here to be the punt returner. I see him as a guy that's expendable once Dax Mills is good to go. So, or keeping both guys just didn't make any sense to me with Humphreys and Curtis Samuel. We have four guys that are similar, both in style of play, both in skill set as well. I thought AGG should have made the team outright, but AGG has some work to do. They stashed him. You know, they got lucky that nobody put in a claim, so they're able to, groom him and bring him up so he can become what we need Cam Sims to be. I think AGG is elevated to the team next year. So that Cam Sims route, practice squad, work your way, boom. So us keeping 7 wide receivers, man. I knew that there was a potential that we can keep 7. It was just the 7 that we kept that kind of, confused me. What do you think?
I'll keep my comments brief because we do have to get through some other positions. But in terms of the receivers, so first and foremost, Terry, doesn't matter. He wasn't on the NFL Players Top 100 list. He's a top 100 player, like bar none. I think even ESPN put out a list and he was on that top 100 list. So I don't know what the players were thinking. 2, with Terry as well, I think he's going to have a Pro Bowl season this year. I think he's going to go off. Ryan Fitzpatrick, up again. He's not a great quarterback in this league, right? He's not a top 10, top 12 quarterback in this league. Right. But the reason why we are so high on Terry McLaurin, one of the reasons why we think he's going to have a monster season this year is because Ryan Fitzpatrick, no matter how many turnovers this guy throws, he always peppers his number 1 targets, whether it be Brandon Marshall with the Jets, Devontae Parker with the Miami Dolphins, and I'm missing one guy here, the Buccaneers as well with Mike Evans. He always peppers his number 1 targets, especially if they're super talented. I think he's only going to continue to do that here in DC, and Terry McLaurin is going to be benefiting from that a lot. Right. Washington keeping 7 receivers. Like you, I was surprised they kept Dax Mills and DeAndre Carter. I thought they were going to keep 1 out of the 2. But I think when it comes down to it, it's just the special teams play. Like you're trying to have as many good special teams players as you can. Of course, we have now Dax Mills and DeAndre Carter. We have Jared Patterson as well, who did okay, returning kicks during the preseason and has shown some ability over the course of his collegiate career, I believe, as well. I just think it was just a matter of special teams and trying to get as many good special teams players as well. And if it wasn't for that reason, why would Washington keep Troy Apke, right? It's sort of like the same thing. You're trying to keep some really good special teams players, so then we're solid in all 3 phases of football, right? Not just defense, right? And offense.
I agree. My whole thing with the wide receiver group is that don't you feel like we need another big receiver? Maybe because we kept 7 and we kept some smaller guys. Yeah. Maybe that's why we was able to keep Ricky Seals-Jones. All I'm saying is the personnel groupings. You just need more than just Cam Sims. You want to throw some of those high 50-50 chance balls. Terry can do some of that, but you don't want to depend on Terry alone. He's like the decoy. He's going to be the guy that takes defenses away to open up plays to guys like Cam Sims. So obviously AGG doesn't play special teams. So yes, that definitely factored into the decision making.
Also hasn't shown much ability as a receiver in the preseason as well.
Absolutely. I mean, he has a ways to go. I mean, but Dax Mills, he's also new. He's also fresh and still learning as well. So. Let's just see. I'm just interested to see how we operate in the red zone. That's an area of weakness. That's weak. It's weak. You have Cam Sims, who did some nice things last year. Yeah. But I still feel like we need to upgrade that spot. Even if it means bringing in another wide receiver, I'm okay. I am totally okay with that, bringing in as much talent as possible. We can't say, because we have so many guys. You can send Dax Mills to the practice squad. He might not play waivers, but I'm just saying we just need an upgrade when it comes to that red zone offense. It's not fun to watch at all.
Yep. Ron Bear did say this. I mean, we'll see. We'll see, right? We'll see what moves he has up his sleeves. Bigger TV, do you view Curtis Samuel as a legitimate number 2? I think they gave Curtis Samuel that contract on potential. I think they view him as a number 2 receiver. If not, Curtis Samuel will be a number 2 receiver by the end of the season. I think he will get that many reps in the receiving game. Obviously, he's going to be used sort of as a gadget running back on occasion, but I think he's going to primarily be used as a receiver alongside Terry McLaurin. And again, I think they gave him that contract based off of his potential of being that guy down the line. And by down the line, I mean in the immediate future.
I agree with you. I think that just based off of volume alone, he's going to be the wide receiver 2 based off of volume. Now, towards the end of the year, you can see a De'Ami Brown jumping to Curtis Samuel, and then you get all 3 guys out on the field at the same time, which is also a good problem. Like, you don't have to be a outside wide receiver to get that kind of money. You can be a slot guy and dominate in a slot and have lots of success. We've seen a lot of slot guys have a lot of success in the NFL, the Wes Welkers of the world, and there's so many of them. I can keep going and going and going to where a lot of teams, their second best wide receiver is that slot guy. There's no problem with that. I don't care if you're inside, outside, tall, whatever. As long as you give me production for my dollar, then I know that it was money well invested in. So we'll see what happens.
Let's get to Hawks comment right here. Tight end group now. John Bates, Sammis Reyes, Ricky Seals-Jones, Logan Thomas, of course. Thoughts on the group? Thoughts on this question right here, or this point right here, John Bates having a big year. Do you think it's going to happen?
With the tight end position, it's a wild card. You have a project in Logan Thomas that has become one of the better tight ends in the NFL. So thank God for that. You have John Bates, who we haven't seen. We haven't seen yet. You know, they say he's a good blocker. We haven't seen anything, yet. So it's a wild card. Then you have Sammis Reyes. He's the most physical tight end from what I've heard, from what the reports are saying. So
even though he hadn't played football until early August this year.
So many projects, so many uncertainties, and that's why I'm glad they was able to keep Ricky Seals-Jones, because at least we know who he is. He can run some good routes. He was a former wide receiver, so he's definitely going to solidify that group. So in terms of what the tight ends are going to do, I really don't even know. I don't even know how to predict their stats. All I can say is that Logan Thomas ties the team for receiving touchdowns with 7. But outside of that, I don't know. I don't know what John Bates can do. I don't know what Sammis Reyes can do. I don't know if Ricky Seals-Jones is used correctly or not. So it's just a wild card for me, man. I'm just like, hey, tight ends, all right, cool.
I agree. First half of the season, I think John Bates, Sammis Reyes, if he even plays, I think they're going to be known more as blockers, and that ability is going to be shown on full display. Second half of the season might be a different story. Maybe John Bates gets some more receiving responsibilities to help Logan Thomas a bit. But I think at least to start, I don't think we should expect too much out of the tight ends besides Logan Thomas. I think Logan Thomas is going to have a great year this year. I know you're a fantasy guru, and I keep advocating that Logan Thomas should be a guy that people look out for late in fantasy drafts. I think he's going to have a very good season.
They're sleeping on him, and it's crazy. Matter of fact, I'm doing a draft right now. That's why I keep looking at I'm doing a slow draft. And Logan Thomas went so late. Logan Thomas is going so late. He's like usually the 10th or 11th tight end off the board. And I don't know why there's so much disrespect for Logan Thomas. But if you're getting Logan Thomas late in your draft, you're winning. But here's what I want to say about the tight end position. Mm-hmm. What rookie tight end have you seen come in and have an impact? Like boom.
I keep saying, I know we say the same thing, man. Like, I know on Twitter you've said it. Like, I agree with you. Like,
it doesn't happen like people think, oh, John Bates is going to come here and do all these great and mighty things. It doesn't happen like that. You have to cultivate these guys. These guys have to learn. You're learning how to block. So you're half an offensive lineman. You're half a wide receiver. You're learning routes. You're learning this. You're learning that. Your coverage and when to block, when to run, when to slip, when to, you know. I'm not expecting anything out of these two rookies. And that's why I kept saying we needed another veteran tight end. That's why Ricky Seals-Jones is here. These rookie tight ends, we have even TJ Hawkinson, the best of the worlds. Noah Fant, these guys were able to get targets because they were on such terrible teams. So you got to see the receiving work. But what did you see in the run game? So I'm not expecting much in terms of receptions out of these two guys. It's going to take a while for these guys to groom. That's why they're bringing these guys in so that as Logan Thomas starts to fade, then you have these young guys in the wings. I mean, every team needs 3 to 4 solid tight ends. Every team. And I'm just glad that we're able to mix it in with youth and experience. Yes.
Yeah. And look at this guy, Corey. Now Nati is making sense. After making this comment, Curtis Paul Richardson Samuel. That is a disgusting comment. First of all, I get it. The injuries. Okay. If you're comparing the two based off injuries, maybe you have a point. But in terms of production, Curtis Samuel, like Bruce said a little bit later in the chat, he absolutely smoked us last year, and I think that Curtis Samuel is going to be that wide receiver too. We're also paying him more than we ever paid Paul Richardson for that reason. So, yeah, I don't know if you have thoughts on that, Manny.
I don't care if he's wide receiver too. I don't care what he is. As long as he's giving us some production out there. Let's say you use Curtis Samuel in the punt return game every now and again, and he's giving us a spark. That's worth the money. If he's running the ball, screens and bubble screens and wildcats, and he's having an impact. Like he's a weapon. He's like a guy that defenses are planning for. Then it's successful. We shouldn't look at the stats and say, "Oh, he gives us this stat, and then he's wide receiver too." He's going to be used all over. He's a football player, and on a team that does not have talent on offense, consistent talent, or we've been looking for talent. I'm not worried about like where he plays. My whole thing is he being productive? I'm more so looking, okay, is he being productive? Is he taking people away so that Terry can have one-on-one? That's kind of, those are some of the roles sometimes. The wide receiver 2 position is so underrated. That second guy is so underrated because you look at the stats and say, oh, well, they didn't put up Calvin Ridley numbers or they didn't put up this guy's numbers. You can't compare because every situation is different. But what I am saying is if he's productive, you'll know. The eye test, you'll know. You'll know if defenses are zeroing in on this guy, even without the numbers, because like I said, with his number stats, it's going to be hard to predict. I don't even know what kind of targets he's going to be able to get. We know that Fitzpatrick loves tall receivers. He loves the jump ball. He loves the 50-50 ball. Curtis Samuel is much of a smaller guy. I haven't really seen Fitz do work with smaller wide receivers too. So I don't know. It's just a big question mark for me with predicting the tight end numbers and also predicting Curtis Samuel numbers.
Look at Corey trying to convince us that that comparison is apt, just like he tried to convince us that Peyton Barber deserved a spot on this roster, just like he tried to convince us that what's his name, Morgan Moses was the most important offensive lineman on this team. Corey. But so I do want to. We got through the entire offense, and we'll probably reserve the defense for next week. But I do want to get your thoughts on week 1 because obviously this will probably be the last time before the last time I see you before week 1, which is coming up, man. It's coming up. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
It's right around the corner, man.
Right around the corner. Right around the corner. Go ahead.
Points that I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Herbert didn't play preseason. I heard. I don't know. This is just what I heard. Okay, I could be wrong. Keenan Allen did not play preseason. No. Austin Eckler did not play preseason. I'm going somewhere, my brother. So these guys right here didn't play preseason, and we're worried about how our offense played in preseason. At least we got some reps in preseason.
I get that. The difference is, though, we know what to expect out of Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler.
We don't know.
I disagree.
Austin, look. Justin Herbert could take a step back this season. Just because he had a good rookie season does not mean you have – it's something called a sophomore slump, okay? A lot of guys
but his slump will be lighter than other quarterbacks that we've seen in the past. That's just my thoughts.
I don't know, man. Like with Herbert, I'm not saying he's going to like be a bad quarterback. All I'm saying is that what he did last year, he might not reach that level again this year.
Yeah.
Okay? Their weakness last year was offensive line. They improved that. Their run game does not impress me. You have Eckler, who's a scat back. He is a receiving back. Yeah. So can they even run the ball?
I don't know. They'll run the ball with Eckler.
It's not enough. Like, if you look at the carries, go look at how many carries this guy gets. He's not there. He's not there to run the ball. And even when he does run the ball, durability issues. So all I'm saying is he's a great pass protector though. So but I'm not too worried about the Chargers offense. The defense is what I'm worried about.
I was about to ask you.
The defense is where that's the game changer.
Yeah.
Offensively, I think they start out slow. They might pick up some steam. We know who Keenan Allen is. Yes. We know who Austin Eckler is. But I still don't think we know who Justin Herbert is. Look, I'm going to say that. I got to see it 2 seasons in a row. He's a good quarterback, but people are putting him on this pedestal. People are putting him on this elite status so soon.
Because he's special.
We need to pump the brakes. I don't know. He's a good quarterback. We've seen so-called special before, and people fall off. I mean, we've seen this before. So, but hey, what do I know? I'm not a quarterback guy. I just watch the games. I watch the games. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if our defense come to play, I'm not worried about Justin. I am not. That's the one guy I'm not worried about come Sunday. Defensively, with Derwin James and Bosa and all these great, their defense have a potential to be a top 5 defense in the league.
Okay.
And what worries me is, how do we protect our quarterback versus this defense? Yeah. Where is Derwin James going to be lining up? Where is he? Like, is he on the tight end? Is he coming after Gibson? Like, where is he? Because he's a guy that can play all over the field. So they have some special pieces on defense. But in terms of Herbert, I'm not worried about him, at least in week 1.
Okay. I think Justin Herbert's going to be, I think he's already a special quarterback. I think he's only going to improve off last season. He might not have the amazing stats that he had his rookie season, or maybe might just have a slight improvement in his rookie stats. But I think when it comes to reading defenses and like all the intricacies of playing quarterback in the NFL, I think would be better in his second year. I think he's a very special talent. I think eventually he'll get up there into the top 6, top 7 quarterbacks in the league. I think he'll eventually get up there. I don't think he's there yet, which if people think that, I think that's a little crazy at this point. But that's my...
Got a question for you. So we had Hunter Henry last year. I think Hunter Henry is a very good tight end in this league, possibly a top 5, top 6. They lost him. You bring in a Jared Cook, who's more so a wide receiving tight end. So you're losing. So you got to
also realize though Henry was injured. He's been injured a lot for the last couple of years. So availability, best ability.
Absolutely. So Henry gave you that blocking ability, that receiving ability. With Jared Cook, it's just different. He's just going to go and catch the ball. Very good, tight end receiver. Then you have Parham, who we lost. But I'll say the wild card for that offense is going to be that Palmer kid. That Palmer kid can play. So if that Palmer kid does what I think he can do, then I can agree with you with Justin Herbert, getting better. But if I don't see any improvement from that offense from last year to this year, then I just don't know how he can get better. But like I said, if that Palmer kid does work, then I can see what you're saying. But my whole thing is I feel as an offense, they got worse. They didn't improve the running game. Like they brought in Larry Roundtree, who's special teams. You have Josh Kelly. You have is it Jackson? Something Jackson. I don't even know their names.
Justin Jackson, yeah.
I don't even know their names. Just tells you what you need to know. Not that I have to know everybody, but it's like that offense is not as dynamic as we think. Austin Eckler's special. Austin Eckler is a guy that I feel gets 100 receptions this year. That's their number 2 wide receiver. Mike Williams, I'm not worried about that guy. That guy is like this. We don't know. One year he gets 900 yards. The other year he gets 1,000 yards. And the next year he gets 10 touchdowns and only 600 yards. So I don't know. Offense has a chance to be has a chance to be really, really good for them. But week 1, I don't know. Is it going to be in LA or in DC? Do you know?
DC.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now. I'm not. I don't want to say that I'm not worried about that offense, but it's going to be bananas come DC with all of our fans.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I will say this, a couple of things. One, they do have Guyton, who is a huge deep threat last year for Justin Herbert. He had a good connection out there in LA. I don't know his first name, but Guyton, I think he came up on the fantasy football radar. So
he's good. He's good. They Tyron Johnson or Tyron something.
I think so. Yeah.
I always get two of them mixed up. Yeah, Guyton is good. So they kept one and let the other one go, and then I think he went to Jacksonville Jags. That's a guy I wish that we put a claim in on. That's a guy I feel like could have come in here and improved this wide receiver group. But hey, Ron Rivera loves the guys he already has on the roster. So.
I'll also say the Chargers, I think that a lot of people are sleeping on this offseason, I guess, is that the Chargers got a lot better with their offensive line. They drafted Rashawn Slater, who, I mean, I don't know if people remember at Northwestern when Northwestern played Ohio State, locked Chase Young up every time they played. And also, not just that, he's been getting rave reviews in the offseason and in the preseason. So I think he's going to be a very good left tackle in this league. Brian Bulaga is the right tackle who they brought over from the Packers. Still, you know, he's getting up there in age, but he's still a quality right tackle that they brought over. And then the biggest add was Corey Linsley, I believe, at center. And I think he's going to be a monstrous addition for that offensive line. So we can't just go out there and say our defensive line is going to beat up on that offensive line, as many defensive lines have in the past. Justin Herbert was running for his life a lot last year. I think that offensive line is going to give them they're at least going to allow them to stay in the game, at least towards the very end, right, when we ultimately get that winner.
Hey, but you know what, though? I also predicted 6 sacks this game. Just because
no, maybe last year on that Chargers offensive line, but they got so much better. Like, I've never seen an offensive line get this much better.
Because look, there's been a lot of talk about Slater versus Chase Young. Chase Young remembers. That's all I'm gonna say. Chase Young remembers. He's dominated Chase every time in college. Just that, right? He remembers. Yep. He remembers. Remember they were saying Joe Burrow was supposed to be the number one. Blah blah blah. Chase remembered. You saw what Chase did that game. In this game, they're saying the narrative.
Bengals offensive line was trash. So
yeah. Look, all I'm saying is Chase knows narratives. Chase hears what's going on. They're talking about should the football team have drafted Justin Herbert instead of, blah. All I'm saying is we had a chance to get Herbert, right? And it's like that situation, like, oh, did we make the right? He is hearing all this. And all I'm saying is that he's going to show up. He's a big-time player, and big-time players make big-time plays. He wants to be one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, and it starts with week 1.
Yep. A couple more questions before the end of the stream. We can get through these very quickly. The first question is an NBA question, and I know you're a big Lakers fan. Who's going to make it to the finals this year, and who's going to win it all?
Ooh. It's tough for the East. Obviously, I'm going to say the Lakers make it and win it all. I mean, as a fan, that's what I'm going to say. Obviously, the West is tough. It's not a guarantee that the Lakers make it. As Corey always says, they have a super old team. He says that the team is AARP, LARP, all that stuff. But I like our team because they have the experience. And at the end of the game, let's say you need a shot to be made. And you telling me that Carmelo Anthony can't knock down a wide open 3? So I love the experience of this team, being that they have so many old guys. That means everybody's getting 5 to 10 minutes. So if they're so old and so whatever, they're going to get less and less minutes, and minutes are going to be spread. So I really love the team. This year, I think the Lakers make it to the finals, and the Lakers win it all. In the East, it's easy to say the Nets when healthy, but you still got to go through the Bucks. The Bucks have a really good team, but I think the Nets have the edge. But don't sleep on the Bucks. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, I agree. Nets, Lakers, Clippers. Take care, lose it. The Redskins fan. Well, I mean, Kawhi's not going to be back until we don't know when. Maybe Christmas, maybe later than that. I mean, he's still recovering from a mysterious torn ACL, I don't know what kind of ligaments in his knee. I don't think the Clippers are going to be in the finals this year. I think it's going to be Lakers Nets. I think the Lakers are going to win it in 7. I think that the Lakers getting Russell Westbrook is a big add. I know everybody likes to make fun of him. What Russell Westbrook. A lot of people forget. First half of the season, which I think it's going to be the same for him this year. First half of the season, he tends to struggle with new teams. Second half of the season, tends to return back to MVP quality play. We saw that with the Wizards. Speaking of the Wizards, I'll say this. I keep saying this. I think the Wizards downgraded by going from Russell Westbrook to the cast of characters that they brought over from the LA, right? And that trade. Obviously, they did get Spencer Dinwiddie. But I think the Lakers getting Russell Westbrook is a huge add. Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, who I don't know if he'll be able to stay healthy. But to be honest, now if Anthony Davis goes out with an injury, you're still going to be able to win games because Russell Westbrook loves to carry teams on his back, right? So at least in the regular season. So I think you guys should still be okay. That big 3 is good. You got Carmelo Anthony. You got Kendrick Nunn. You got some other guys as well. So I think you guys are well balanced. Nets really have a good team as well. I just think when it comes down to it, I've been saying it since the start of this channel, all the way back in 2020. LeBron James is still the best player in the world, and he'll show why, much like he did after everybody was calling him washed after the 2018-2019 season. I think he's going to come back and show that he's the best.
Agreed. And, you look at the Nets, they have all these guys, but they still don't have size. Like, who's their center? Who's their center? They play like
Griffin?
They play like three power forwards. I mean, they just signed Millsap. LaMarcus Aldridge is he's cleared, and he's possibly going to the Nets. So I'm like, what kind of lineup are you guys trying to roll out here? So they talk about the age for the Lakers, but they don't talk about the age for the Nets because,
and
everybody
availability.
But yeah, it just is what it is.
Yep. Second to last question, fantasy football. I know I always say this. Fantasy football guru, Manny. Best value pick in fantasy football drafts this year.
Ooh, best value. Okay, I just made a great value, not the Walmart great value, but I just made a great value pick in Javonte Williams, running back from the Denver Broncos. I think he ends the year as their number one running back. They didn't draft him high for nothing. I know you have Melvin Gordon there, but at the same time, Javonte Williams is special. And if you can get him in redraft, in a typical draft in a 12-man, you can possibly get him in the 6th round right now. Currently, his ADP might rise, but from what I've seen, he's going late. And sometimes I get him at the end of drafts. So Javonte Williams, and if Melvin Gordon goes down, you have a bona fide top 7 to top 12 running back in the NFL.
I like that pick a lot. I feel like this is kind of cheating a bit, but I'm going to go because of the fact that I think he's going to finish as a top 7, top 8 running back in fantasy this year. I'm going to go with Gus Edwards because Gus Edwards is getting drafted a couple rounds later from the top, echelon of backs, right? The CMCs, Dalvin Cooks, even Antonio Gibson is getting drafted, I believe, like 2 rounds before Gus Edwards at this point. Gus Edwards, very much a value pick, and I think that if you guys are still running your fantasy drafts out there, he should be a running back 1 in Baltimore, with the caveat that they're not going to add anybody right before the season starts. I don't think they will. But Gus Edwards, I think he had, I believe, greater than 5 yards. He averaged greater than 5 yards per carry last year on the Baltimore Ravens. He's been a stud over the last couple of years. I don't know why they never gave him starter reps, but with J.K. Dobbins going down, I think Gus Edwards is going to be the guy up there in Baltimore. And they love to run the ball.
I would say temper your expectations with Gus Edwards. Even with splitting the backfield, he's at 700 yards plus last 2 seasons, each season respectively. But also, in terms of rushing for touchdowns, some people have him for 10 touchdowns or more. I don't know, because Lamar Jackson is also a running back that runs the ball. But in terms of volume and just being a guy that's going to receive a lot of rushing attempts, over 200, maybe over 250 rushing attempts this year, I see the upside there. But the touchdown template, because if you're playing PPR, you have to remember he's not going to receive a lot of reception. So it just all depends on what kind of strategy you're doing. If you're going wide receiver heavy, then maybe Gus Edwards is your running back 1 or 2. If you're going, running back heavy, maybe Gus Edwards is your running back 3 or 4. So just all depends on which strategy you're trying to use and, what your goals are. So
short answer, no, Tone. Short answer, Manny.
Nope.
There you go. Last and final question. You know what's coming. Everybody in the chat knows what's coming. It's been a lively chat tonight. Thank you guys for joining. Last and final question. As always, what are your thoughts on the future of this Washington football franchise? Do you think Coach Rivera is building a winner to the point where this team could win a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years?
Absolutely. I've been saying this since last year. Since I started the Back Row Redskins Show podcast, I was saying that the first year Ron Rivera is trying to get the team together. He's building. Year 2, solidifying his team. Year 3, meaning next year, we start to compete for Super Bowls. I've been saying that, and I'm going to continue to say it because we've been building a foundation. Yep. Defense is set. Defense is set. Maybe we need a few little pieces here, a few little money. Let's see what happens with money and losing free agencies and losing free agents and stuff like that. But this team is ready.
Yep.
We are a quarterback away, and I honestly believe we are a quarterback away. The offense, the pieces on offense are as good as any team.
Yep.
You have Gibson, who can be a top tier back. You have Curtis Samuel and Terry as a tandem. That's a top 5 to top 10 tandem in the league.
Potentially, not now, but
potentially, potentially. Like even Gibson, all these is everything I'm saying is all potential. It's all potential because we have not really even seen the team. So come next year, if you get that quarterback, whether it's my guy Aaron Rodgers coming to the squad for free, meaning that
our guy, we don't
have to lose draft capital, right? And then maybe we draft that's the beauty of it. If you bring in a quarterback that can play, you get to draft a left tackle as your first pick in the draft. You don't have to trade up to go get a quarterback that you don't even know if he's going to come in and do something.
I think we'll have to trade for Aaron Rodgers. I know there's this talk about this being the last dance and all that for him in Green Bay, but I think the Packers aren't.
He has every right after this year
to be cut.
No, he's gone. The last year is like an option. It's a mutual.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like if he wants to come back, he says, "Okay, I'm coming back."
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to come back, he's like, "I'm out." And mind you, Davante Adams wants to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league because Hopkins gets paid $27 million a year. So guess what? He wants 30. So how do you pay him 30? And then how do you? I'm telling you, it's deuces. This is the last year of Aaron Rodgers. It's all about him picking the team that he wants to go to. That's the football team.
We're better than Broncos. I don't know why people keep saying the Broncos are a better fit. Like I feel like we're a better fit right now, personally. I don't know if you think that as well.
Agreed. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that he says, "Hey, Davante, let's go to DC."
You think we'll bring Davante here as well? When we're gonna have to pay Terry, you're gonna have to pay.
Check this out. If Davante's coming, goodbye Payne. I'm just painting a picture here.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
We're gonna look. Goodbye Payne. Goodbye Settle. I think those are the two that are going to be. Yeah. So that's just what's gonna happen. If those two guys come here, that's $60 million. That's $60 million, and that's goodbye to some pieces on defense. I'm just saying. You bring those two guys, you're talking about a Super Bowl, regardless of who you're losing on that line. Now, I'm just saying.
I just think Davante Adams is probably going to join up with
somewhere else, but
Derek Carr, his Fresno State quarterback. I think that's probably going to be the better fit for him. But in terms of Aaron Rodgers, you guys know I agree with Manny 1,000%. He's my number one guy next offseason. I think we should definitely get him first and foremost. If not him, then maybe a Sam Howell in the draft, who I think is going to be a very special quarterback in this league as well. And he doesn't necessarily play the same way as Zach Wilson, but I'm nearly as high on Sam Howell as I was on Zach Wilson last year at this point.
That's my number one right now is Howell. Like everybody who knows me knows I want Howell on the team. But let me ask you this. If Aaron Rodgers says, I want to come to DC, but he says that I want to bring Davante as well, and I want Davante I want him to be the highest paid wide receiver, what do you say?
Then I would do it. I don't know if other fans would, but I would do it.
You make it work. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. All I'm saying is just imagine. It's probably not going to happen, but I like to think. I like to dream. If you can get, because see, when Aaron Rodgers comes here, guess what? He's going to bring his buddies. That's what comes with it. I'm not saying maybe not Davante, maybe Randall Cobb comes here to be the slot. I don't know. All I'm saying is that usually when people come, they bring their friends. We've seen it happen with Tom Brady, and sometimes their friends come for discounts. The older ones, not the young ones. So it's going to be interesting. Free agency and off season. There's other guys like a Derek Carr that potentially become available. You're going to see so many teams pursuing quarterbacks that they're going to be letting go of so many quarterbacks.
But you think we're setting up this team, this oil machine potentially that we have here in DC? You think we're setting up this team, drafting all these young guys, drafting these studs, getting this team ready for a guy like Derek Carr to be the quarterback? That's how I think about things.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it. Like Derek Carr is probably not the best, you know what I'm saying? But I still feel like we are a quarterback away, and I think that Derek Carr is a major upgrade over Fitzpatrick. I love Derek Carr.
For sure. I agree with you on that.
Derek Carr. I love Kirk Cousins. You know what I'm saying? I just need a quarterback that can make some plays. I'm sorry. From what I've seen, quarterbacks are expensive, number one. Number two, they're hard to find. So you can laugh and shake your head about Cousins. I get it. That's your opinion. But at the end of the day, quarterbacks are hard to find. And when you find a decent one or a half okay one, you overpay because you don't want to have Andy Dalton. You don't want to have some of these other even less, so
it's fair.
It's just like a revolving door. We're going to see movement. Even a Jameis Winston can become the face of the Saints this year. And he can be the next Ryan Tannehill. I say that because,
that's a good comparison, yeah.
And that's what happens. That's what happens. So you see these guys that didn't work out over here, they go over here and then they work out. They're like kickers. Quarterbacks are like kickers. They go somewhere else and might have possible success with that potential team. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. Quarterback away. I mean, of course, every team needs to tinker with their roster a little bit. I think we're no different. Maybe linebacker, adding a guy, making John Bostic either a bench piece or just releasing him outright. And then maybe adding another offensive weapon at receiver would be great for me. Backup tight end. Although, we don't know what we have in John Bates just quite yet, right? He could potentially be that guy. I think I agree with you. Quarterback away. Aaron Rodgers, number one choice next offseason. If we get him, Super Bowl contenders. Honestly, Super Bowl or bust at that point if we get Aaron Rodgers, because he's going to be at the tail end of his career. And even with being at the tail end of his career, I know a lot of fans out there are going to be like, oh, he's going to be old at that point. He's going to be washed up. I mean, this man just won an MVP, guys, at the age of 37 years old. So I think he'll still be, he's different. Just like Brady, different. It might be the same thing as like a Brady joining forces with the Bucs. I feel like it's going to have that sort of impact here in DC.
That's what I'm saying. I think if he's going to leave, he's going to assess everything.
Yep.
Assessing everything means who has a good defense, because Brady had a choice between the Chargers and the Bucs. He looked at everything and said, the Bucs give me, not only do they give me defense, they also give me more weapons on offense.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and get on the phone with my boys and see who wants to come over. Calls Gronkowski. He says, I'm on my way. Edelman would have been on his way, but he was under contract. So, I mean, these guys, they bring their guys. There's certain people that you love to work with, right? And if you're going into war, if you normally bring your guys. That's all I'm saying. So I'm here for it all. Of course, I'm focused on the season, but after the season, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because now I think, okay, we can compete for a Super Bowl after this season.
It depends on the signs, though, that we see this year. I mean, obviously, we can't see a lot of regression out of some of our stud talents. We're assuming that we're going to keep seeing progression. But I agree with you. Again, if we get that quarterback next offseason, which I think we will, whether it be Aaron Rodgers or I think they're not going to care one bit about draft picks next year. If they don't get Aaron Rodgers, then they don't get a stud quarterback free agency. I think they're going to give up a lot of picks if that's not the case and trade up for a guy. Maybe not Sam Howell, because he probably will be the number one pick or number two pick, but potentially they could. And I think that's just going to be what we're going to do next offseason. And like you, Manny, I'm super excited. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Manny, for joining the stream, bro. I appreciate it. As always, great conversation. I'm sorry if I butted in a little bit too much in the stream, but I appreciate you for coming on. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Didn't even give a shout out earlier, but Bruce, Vaughn, Tone, Ali, Hawk, as always, Jared Sports Take at the very beginning, first in the chat. Bigga TV, who else on the Warpath? Who else? Who else is in the chat? Hamdale as well. Loser the Redskins fan. And I think that's about it. And I think there's someone at the end. Yeah, Red Wings 1 and Roger Smith. Thank you guys so much for joining and for keeping the comment section very lively tonight. Fortunately, we're going to get to every single question. But again, I appreciate you guys for joining. As always, Derek Carr. Again, I agree. Derek Carr would be solid, but probably would not be my most ideal fit here in DC. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching once again. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DMVSportsZone channel, where we try to post fire content on here as much as possible, much like our interview with former Washington football team player Logan Paulson, who played with RG3. Go, guys, check that out, man. I remember watching him and playing with him on Madden, so it was really fun to interview him. Make sure to follow our Twitter page at DMVSportsZone and our Instagram page, which has gotten a little bit better over the last couple of weeks in all lowercase DMVSportsZone. That being said, thank you guys so much, and see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace out.